All right, hello everyone. This is a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in the year 1952. And it is about a sentence in our Torah portion, which is, if, as you remember, our Torah portion is it has 53 commandments in it. Most of them deal with money, and one of them is the commandment to lend money. It's a commandment in the Torah to lend money to needy people. No, it says that lending money, we're talking about lending without interest. It's forbidden in Judaism to lend money to a Jew with interest. In other words, you can be normal like everybody else and lend money to a non-Jew, just as non-Jews lend to non-Jews, or non-Jews lend to Jews, but you're not allowed to lend money with interest to a Jew. On the other hand, it is a big commandment to, yes, lend money to people. Lend money. And the reason is because if a poor person asks you for money and you give it to him, so it's very nice and he gets a gift. But if you lend it to him and tell him, listen, you can pay me back whenever you can, so that gives him a feeling of dignity. And in other words, that you're sure that he's going to, one day he'll be the one that's lending money. So it's a commandment to lend money. How is this expressed in our Torah portion? It's expressed, it says that if you lend money to someone, 1 second. Shalom, Paul. There we go. If you lend money to someone, namely a poor person that's with you, in this case, the word if you lend money, it's a commandment. So the Rebbe is going to talk about this, what this means in a spiritual sense, and also even more, it's known that God does all the commandments that we do. It says that God, you made us holy with your commandments, with his commandments. So he also does the commandments. What does that mean that God does commandments? We're going to see in a minute. Here we go. In Hainta Kasedra, in this week's Torah portion, Zokt it says, God says, in Kesef Talveh, if you loan money to an indigent, to a poor Jew, Zokt Rizal, the rabbis say, as Chach, even though that it says, if you lend money, Maintas, this does not mean kain reshut. It doesn't mean that it's optional to lend money. No, it does is a mitzvah. It's a commandment, a chova, and an obligation. When someone asks you for a loan, you must give them a loan. Of course, you can ask the person, there's conditions. If you're sure the person is going to steal the money from you or whatever, then, or the person is lying, he doesn't really need the money. Right? So you can check up to see who the person is. And if he's really intending to give you back the money, if it's any way possible to know, then if you know for sure that he's not going to give you back the money, then not necessarily that you have to, in other words, he's intending not to give you back the money. Then you don't have to, but if the person is just poor, and then you're supposed to lend the money. Okay. Oifen pasuk on the second, on the sentence, Magi Davrav Yanko, Kukul Meshpat of the Israel. It says that God, it's a sentence in Psalms, on this sentence that says, Magi Davrav, that God says his words to Jacob, and he gives his statutes to Israel. The rabbis say, as das was the Eibishter haste, that's what the Eibishter, what God commands us to do, to Jews, tut eralain, oichalain, that God also does the commandments. Okay, now at first glance, this sort of, what do we call it, anthropomorphizes God, the big word. It makes God into a person. What do you mean? That God says we should put on tefillin. He puts on tefillin. God puts on tefillin. Where does he buy the tefillin from? What type of an arm has he got? That he puts on these boxes on his arm, on his head. God says that we should eat matzah. God also eats matzah. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. What does it mean? I mean, God is infinite. God is beyond being infinite. God creates the infinite. God creates all being, creates all existence, creates time, creates Consciousness. God is above consciousness, above. What does it mean? He does a mitzvah. The commandments are physical deeds that we're supposed to do. How does God, who is certainly not physical, how does he do? So it's absurd, isn't it? So the answer is that yes, it really is absurd. It doesn't make any sense, but it's true. It's true. It's totally incomprehensible, but it makes true. It is true. And we can see that God can sort of be physical because he creates me and you, and we're physical. He creates the whole world, we're physical. And he gives us physical commandments. So he spoke to Moses, it says. He spoke to him, he punishes, he rewards. So we see that God is very intimately involved in this world, more than we can ever imagine. That's one of the messages of the Baal Shem Tov, of the Hasidic Judaism, that God is interested and involved in every minuscule detail of the world, about how the electrons go around the protons or whatever it is, the nucleus, whatever it is, if there is such a thing, how every single quark moves, how every single person, especially people, especially Jews. So God is intimately involved in everything. And not only that, it says that the reason that he commands us is because he's interested in us. And he reacts to what we do. So when we do a commandment, somehow or other he reacts. Now here's going to be an example of how it is that God reacts, even though he's infinite, beyond infinite, and he creates the infinite, how he reacts to what we do. God has commandments. First of all, it also says that we're created in God's image. So we already know that there is some sort of an idea that God has this image, whatever it means. And in Kabbalah, it explains that that's God's 10 sefirot, or his different names, or his different aspects, or something like that. But nonetheless, God has these things. God is still, that's the whole secret, by the way, of the Moshiach. The Moshiach is going to how do you say, abolish, make unnecessary all idolatry. Why do people worship idols? Why do people worship a person or a star or an angel or a power or something like that? Because they think that God is too far away. God is too far away, and he can't answer our prayers. God is just too far away. There's no way he can answer our prayers, which is a good point. It's a good point. But on the other hand, God is also infinitely close, and he really cares about what we do. God himself, personally. You can say it's aspects of God, whatever, but nevertheless, God, just like when I hug somebody, I don't hug them. My arms hug them. So it's not really me hugging them. So it's not a real true hug. A real true hug is that that makes no sense. So it's the same thing with God. God is involved with the world through his sefirot, his aspects, his this, but still it's God. Just like it's my arms. Okay. So when we do a commandment, God does the commandment. Okay, ready, here we go. From this is verstanden, it's understood as euch dem Eberstedt, also God is makayim, this mitzvah of loaning money to his people. Huh? God gives us a loan, L-O-N. Yud. The whole idea of what is a loan? A loan is men git jener geld. You give a person money, chach as kuntem net, even though he doesn't deserve it. He didn't do anything for you. Jener git nit epis for them. The person doesn't give you anything back. He's not supposed to give you even interest. As is aber nit kein matan. It's not a gift. Nor jener vet nischayev. The person obligates himself up to given to return the money later. Also God gives the Eden, he gives every Jew in Yanim and Kochos things and powers, abilities, senses, gives us luck, success. But the God demands menzel oisnutzen, that we should use them als oisfirin in order to do the purpose he put us in the world for. Upgiven them in chukim and mishpatim, that we should use these powers that he gives us in order to fulfill his commandments. But that's how we give the loan back, by using our powers and our talents and to do what he wants. 1 second, how do we do this? Here we go. In the, is that right? One second, just one, give me a minute here. Give me a minute. If this is correct, did I turn too many pages here? No. Yes, okay. Okay, in them Inyan, and the whole topic from giving a zach to give something, almanatsu rik gekumen, get it back. Zayin and Faran Svei Ofana. There's two ways that I can give someone something on the condition that he gives it back to me. One way is a shaila and a halva'a. One is a, let's see, I don't know how you translate this in English, is a, because they usually, in English, they use it the same word. A shaila means a loan, but a halva is also a loan. So what's a shaila? A shaila is, it's like a temporary gift. A shaila is a temporary gift. Somebody says to me, can you loan me your car? So I give him my car. He gives me the car back, right? That's called a loan. That's called a loan, but it's a loan that he has to give me the same thing back that I gave him. Then there's a halva'a. The difference between a sha'ala, to temporarily, right, some temporary give someone something, and to loan somebody something, it's two different words in Hebrew. The chiluk between them is, by a shaila, if it is temporarily giving someone something, musder shoel, upgiven the zelbezach vos erhat genumen. Somebody takes my car, he has to give me back my car. Right? I loan somebody my car, he has to give me back my car. That's in a way of a shaila. Sha'ala means he asks me, can I use your shovel, your rake, your tractor? I say, okay, but he has to give me back that same shovel or rake or tractor, he's giving me the same thing back. As Verdnitzain, it doesn't become his. When he's using it, it's not his, it's always mine. Aber malva, but the thing of a loan, monetary loan, it is given to be spent. Right? If I loan somebody my car or my my guitar or something, he is supposed to give me that same car or guitar back, exactly back. But if I loan a person money, he does not have to give me that same money back. As vert ein ganzen dem lovis, when I loan someone money, the money becomes the property of the person who borrows it. When Eric and Dum nutzen, and he can use it for whatever he wants to. All of his various things he wants, he can buy anything with it. It's not my business anymore. When I loan money, that money becomes the property of the person who borrows it. That's called money loan. But if it's a sha'ala, in Hebrew, the word for loaning an item is called a sha'ala. He has to give me back that same item back. Their time, the reason from the Nesinas Koach, from them Eberster, because, okay, so it says that we said earlier, God also gives us a loan. He makes a loan to us. So God gives us powers, and so to speak, we can do whatever we want to with them. We just have to repay him back afterwards. The reason for that God gives us power, life, success, like it says, Kesef Talveh, Vert Aru an Gerufen mit Namen Halva. It's called, why is it called a loan, a monetary loan? Is Valdem Koach, because the power that God gives us, the life he gives us, the talents that he gives us, the senses that we have, as Kenan Yidden Nemen un Oisnutzen, we can use them for Polim in Zera Inyanim. They can do whatever they want to. God gives us a soul, he gives us life, we can do whatever we want to with it. Afilu B'Shas as does Zainin Nidruk Inyanim, even if he's dealing with very, I say, mundane things, tying his shoes, etc. The Inyan from them in Paul, Ubalim and the Chassidus pride is like this. Okay, let me just explain something. We're talking about in a true sense. True, God gives life to everything, gives life to plants, to animals, to everyone, to non-Jews, certainly. And everyone's life is a gift, right? It's a gift. So in a way, it's sort of like a loan also. Non-Jews also, it's a loan. They have to give it back for the 7 Noah commandments. But by the Jews have what's called an extra soul, a second soul, a godly soul. This godly soul is supposed to be used purely for godly things. It's a sense of godliness. And you see this sometimes in Jews, totally non-religious Jews. If you say, you're a dirty Jew, all of a sudden they get, what do you want, I'm a Jew? You can't be a Jew, or you say something against the Holocaust or something, he gets all excited, right? All excited and all this, not because of any human reasons, just because it's, it's him, touched on him. So you see, all of a sudden this wakes up. But what about other matters? And the other matters, he doesn't use this godly soul either at all, or he misuses it. Says the Rebbe, nevertheless, it's a loan. You can do whatever you want to with it. There are some people, was made that they think, as mit learning Chassidus, that if they learn the ideas of Chassidut, darf men warten, you have to wait, bis wird sein früher abgehit, betachlis afilu in a diktu kal shel divrei sofrim. When in a hidur mitzvah, there's some people that learn the ideas of Chassidut, and they think, just one moment, please, one moment. Excuse me 1 second. One moment, someone's calling me. All right, some people learn the ideas of Chassidut, like we're learning here. And they understand that God is creating us, everything we have is a gift from God, our life, etc. So they think that, listen, if I want to really put this stuff into action, so I really have to be totally clean and fixed up. If I do a sin, or I don't do a commandment, even a rabbinical commandment, when a molo feel in the raisa, or let's say I once in a while even go against something from the Torah, right? It goes against something from the Torah. Once in a while he turns on a light on Shabbos by mistake. Once in a while he doesn't eat something that doesn't look at the thing to see if it's kosher. Sayin and Ayin from Kum va'aseh, Sayin and Ayin from Shav al-Taseh, whether it's a positive commandment I transgress, I didn't do something I was supposed to do, or I did do something I was forbidden to do, then a person can think that kener sich nit oisik sein in limud Chassidut. Then I can't learn these high ideas about Chassidut. We're learning about God and the oneness of God, and the different levels of the spiritual creations and things like that, and to pray with love and fear. I can't deal with this upper things. Or let's just take a simple example, a person from the street that has just been beginning to learn to be in Judaism. And he still has his old habits and his old ways, and maybe he doesn't even keep Shabbat at all, or eat kosher at all. But he's interested. He's interested. He came in, he's interested, he's, let's say, inquisitive at least, right? So a person like that can think, listen, 1 second, I'll learn the other things in the Torah, but not this Chassidut stuff. Don't teach me this, because it's just too pure and too high and too godly. And I'm really far away from that. So I shouldn't. Zakmen milvelotza nitna. You tell a person like that, you have a loan from God. The loan, like God loaned you money, he loaned you. And a money that is a loan, it's yours. You can do whatever you want to with it. Nit kukendik doesn't make any difference if they're no matter how high it is. In Torah Chassidut was their altar, which the first Rebbe of Chabad had oif them given a mashal. He gave an example from an Evan Tova, from that it's a precious stone of gefinsik beketer melech that's in the crown of the king. Was on them without that precious stone is the ganzen keter, the whole crown is not really a crown anymore. It just looks like something from Purim or something. From deswegen, nevertheless, git men reshus. The king is giving you permission. So yeder yidden, to every Jew, nem and them keter, take the crown of the king, and oisnitz in them from their inyanim, from his things. I think you all know this, but I'll say it to you again because it's a good example. They say that the first Rebbe of Chabad, he was still a young man in his 20s, and he was walking with the Maggid of Mezrich and somebody else. I think it was Rabbi Pinchas of Koretz, I think. And this Rabbi Pinchas of Koretz was very, very zealous and just possessive of the ideas of Chassidut. They're so precious and so wondrous, so amazing, And the Maggid of Mezrich printed them out sometimes. He would print them out and distribute them to others. And he said, this is a terrible mistake, an awful mistake. And it happened to be that we're walking down the street, and in the gutter was one of these pages. And he said, look what happens. The holiness, the pure holiness of the secrets of the Torah is in the gutter. Look what happens as you're disgracing the mysteries of the Torah. So the first Rebbe of Chabad said, I want to give you an example. That once there was a king that had a son that was terribly sick, and everyone tried to heal him. They couldn't. And finally, one doctor said, the only way you can heal him is by taking the diamond from the crown, from your crown, and grinding it up. And as he said that, everybody just shuddered, because that diamond was the whole splendor of the king. And grind it up, put it into water, mix it together, and try pouring it into his mouth. But I don't think it's going to work, because it's almost impossible it's going to even go into his mouth. And if it does, his throat is all closed up. So whatever does manage to get into his mouth, he's probably going to spit it up. But if even a little drop goes in, that will save the king's son's life. So the king said, okay, no problem, I'll do it. And he took off the crown, and he ground up the stone. However, he ground up a diamond, I don't know. He ground up a diamond, and he put it in the water. Maybe this wise man knew how to do it. And he put it in and he tried to get it into his son's mouth. And sure enough, 99% spilled out all over the ground. And that 1% that went in, 99% of that he spit out. But 1% of a percent, which that's what, 0.01% or something, 0.001%. Anyway, it went in. And the king's life, the son was saved. So the Rebbe is saying that's the same thing as the godly soul that God is giving us. God is giving us this godly soul, and he's giving us this godly soul in order to do whatever we want to with it. And the same thing is the first Rebbe of Chabad gave us Chassidut also in the same fashion. It's a loan, and we could do whatever we want to with it. So no matter how precious it is, nevertheless, we have to try to pour it in to our system. We demand by every Jew, as vi nidrik zol nitzai, no matter how low he is, zoler kein ein tag nit farfallen in shiur, he should not miss even one day a class was hat in Chassidus, in learning Chassidut. In other words, all the Jews, tell all your friends, they all have to come to these classes that I'm giving. Tomorrow I want to see at least 2 million people in the classes. 2 million, and then we'll build it up from there. On a filu in them tug, even that day, Gufa was is nichshal geworden, which he maybe might miss one day in a doraisa. I'm sorry, that even that day that he personally did a sin from the Torah, say in an inyan from kum va'asa, whether it's a positive commandment or a negative commandment, zolar oich dem tag, in that day he should not miss a class in learning Chassidut. Unit nor an inyan from avoda, and also not anything from serving God, nor oich an inyan from haskala. Not just a matter of emotions and getting all excited about how God is and to love God and he's creating us, but also intellect. There's also understanding ideas of God. What is the tzimtzum? What is ak? What is all these Kabbalistic ideas, and explaining, what exactly it means. What's the tzimtzum rishon? What's the tzimtzum after that? These intellectual ideas. When a filu azoyin is such a thing in a skala was mitzad zayin hoichkeit, which is so high, Veser Gornit, he doesn't understand what's going on over there. Nevertheless, he should learn it. There's Maimorim of the Rebbe Rashab, especially the fifth Rebbe of Chabad, very deep and very super intellectual, talking about all these little tiny details and nuances of the difference between the world of Bria and the world of Yetzirah, and the level of Ak and the level of Akudim and Nekudim and how it calls himself, and all these ideas. Nevertheless, these are relevant. This is part of the king's crown. This is part of the loan that God is giving us, and is giving us in order to spend it. their time of the Nesinas Koach, the reason that God gives us this power was their Eibishter Gid, which God gives, like it says, Kesef Tilveh, He's loaning us money. Zokt in our pasuk it says, Et Ami, to my people. Zokt the Rizal, the rabbis say, Ami v'nachri Ami kodem. If you have a poor, I say, kindness begins at home. If you have a poor Jew that needs money and a poor non-Jew that needs money, and you don't have enough, you only have enough for one, so then it says your people are first. Also, it says that if it's somebody from another city and from your city, the people from your city are first. If it's somebody from another block and your block, the people in your block, somebody from another family and your family, the closer they are, the more is an obligation to give them. We have to make a statement, and saying Ami Kodem, that my people are first. Right? You want to give a loan. You have to give a loan to the Jew first. Because you have to say this, is verstandig, it's understood as his Faran, an ort that you might think, or Ibzogan Anders, to say differently. Because if the Torah has to tell you to do this, then obviously it's telling you something new. And from deswegen, and nevertheless, Zogt men Ami Kodem, it says my people are first. Right? The Torah tells us to do things, commandments, that either we wouldn't think of doing on our own or our nature. It tells us things that are forbidden that we would think of doing on our own. From this, it's verstandig, it's understood as their Nesinas Koch, that which God gives us power. So that what it says, that God gives us a loan from such a place was Dorten Riert Nit Avodas da Nivroim. It must be, it's talking about that God gives a loan to the Jewish people, even if their only merit is that they're Jewish people. Bechinas Adon Yechid. From this level, there's a lot of different names for this, which is called Adon Yechid, the singular master. Shorish, the source. 1 minute. Source, Hashorashim, the source of all sources. V'erzach, like it says, Eini odea be'ezeh mehem chafetz. Says, I don't know what God wants. Right? Does he want good or does he want bad? I mean, the whole thing is open. Maybe God wants us to do bad things. Huh? Could be. That's what the Nazis said. V'erzach, like it says, Eini odea be'ezeh mehem chafetz. I don't know what God wants. But Maisa Tzadikim, the deeds of the righteous or the deeds of the evil. God's creating all of them. I mean, how can you say anything like that? God gave the Torah. It says, yeah, but before God gave the Torah, there's the essence of God. And the essence of God is above all these laws. When Sidarv Zayin Alimud, you have to learn, especially, Valdarv Verdort, Ken Zayin Anatinas Makom, from a place where you might think, as Zol Zayin Anders, that it could be different. Maybe God really likes the deeds of the evil people. Norm Tzadzam Bechira Atznis, because of the free choice, was their Eibishter, which God had Bocher given in the Neshamas Yisrael, but God chose the Jewish people, Ami Kodem. And was God did not choose the Jewish people because they're some way superior, or they're purer, or they're better in any way than the non-Jews. God just chose them because he just decided to choose. And the Jews have this certain qualities, whatever they have, he chose to give them this extra soul. But nevertheless, the Torah says that God did choose us. And because he did choose us, it means that this choice, and the choice doesn't depend on anything. So if so, it goes the other way around. He's not going to unchoose us because of anything. No matter what we do, the choice is always there. The same thing is also with this giving of the extra soul and the extra powers. Und das ist the Madriga from Oif State, from where it says, Hello, Ach Esav Yaakov, isn't Esav a brother to Jacob, no Hashem? But Oif is Yaakov, but God loves Yaakov, and Esav he hated. Where's this? Is a prophecy in, where is it? 1 second, 31, 21. Malachi, the prophet Malachi. In other words, they're brothers. They're twin brothers. Yes. As Maisa Tachtonim, so Maisa Tachtonim, what we do in this world, it touches Dorton, Nit on. This is a place where God shows us that what we do has no effect. God just chose the Jews, that's it. Therefore, is Ach Esav Yaakov, even though that Esav is a brother to Jacob, as Beder, Gleich, each one of them is equal. And from deswegen, and nevertheless, mitzadem bechira va'avde atzmi, because God chose us, and His essential love is oyeves Yaakov. God loves Jacob. Therefore, God gives us this loan, so to speak, and we can do with it whatever we want to. And so to speak, God doesn't care. God destroyed this first temple, the second temple, etc. But the Jews are still here. Und das ist euch was es sagt. That's what it says in Kesef Talvi. That's what it says, that the loan is Kesef. Kesef means silver. Kesef, silver, is a hint on love. Nichsaf, nichsafta. The word Kesef, nichsaf, means to have desire, love. Nichsaf. The word comes from Kesef. See, Kesef, nichsaf. Kaf samach pei. Kesef. Lebeis avicha. What does God give us? What does God give us? God gives us this ability, the loan that He gives us that we can use for whatever we want to. This is a loan of love. Natinet koach is nit mitzad ava. Avod is not because of what we do, nor but rather because of God's essential love for the Jewish people. Them Eibishters to the Eibishter, to the Yidden. The essential love of God to the Jews. I think we'll stop here today. Okay, I didn't feel good the whole night, and I got all sorts of other excuses, but I think we'll stop here. We haven't got much to go. God willing, we'll finish this tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, right? Thursday. Okay. God willing, we'll meet again tomorrow. Oh, you know what? I didn't record the Devar Malchut, the Yom Yom today, so I'll do it right now. I didn't record it. We had that in the class, but I didn't record it. So let's record it right now. Here we go.